Okay, so we're off to our first job. We just picked up off our toilet and we got our toilet bowl, we got our tank over here, we got some toilet wax rings, a supply line and some caulking and a T-bolt set and our lid. Let's go. To install a new toilet. Fun time. So first thing you do is you're going to be turning off the water supplied to the toilet. You're going to flush it a few times so you get the water mainly out of the tank and out of the bowl. And the stuff that you cannot flush down, you're going to either take a vacuum or
sponge.
Yeah. Now that the toilet is empty, we have taken off the caps off the T-bolts that hold the toilet down, and Andrea will now unhinge the nuts on the bolts. Okay, and then just wiggling it back and forth helps break the seal of the caulking around the toilet as well as the wax ring that it sits on.
And if it doesn't, you might need to take a putty knife or a box knife really gently.
Which it looks like we will have to because the wax kind of stayed on the floor, which is okay.
Alright, I'm gonna haul this out.
Yeah.
So, I'm putting the new bolts on. One thing to remember, if you're a homeowner and you are doing the toilet yourself, that before you go out and purchase your toilet, you want to make sure that you have the right rough-in. And what that means is you take a tape measure, you measure from the back of the wall to the center of your bolt. And right here it was roughed in at 11.5. The toilet that we have will work even though it's considered a 12-inch. A lot of those toilets don't have the flexibility like that. So some of them will be 10, the normal average one's a 12, and then sometimes there's a 14. So let's say you install a 12 and you have a 14 rough, you're gonna have a huge gap in the back. Or if you buy a 12 and you have a 10-inch, it's not gonna fit a lot of times. So you wanna make sure you double check that before you go to the store and spend time finding the wrong toilet and then having to go back again.
And with the T-bolts, you have your toilet flange. The T-bolt goes into a little insert right here, and you put a washer on as well as a bolt, and you tighten them down so that they don't move.
And you got your wax ring. So I just set my wax ring. You want to make sure that you have the right wax ring when you're setting your toilet. They have jumbo, they have your standard, and then they have the one without the horn, which is the black piece. I got one without horn. So I mean, basically what you'll see on the back is it'll say for 3 and 4 inch waistlines. So let's say, you know, you buy a 3 and a 4. Sometimes if you can wiggle the wax ring around, then you got the 3, then you probably need the 4 because you want it to sit firmly. You don't want it to move around when you go to set it. Alright, we're setting the toilet. As you can see, I haven't completely pushed down yet. That's always a good idea. Make sure that once you go to set it, it's where it needs to be before. Because once you push that wax ring down, like you don't want to move it again. So that's where it needs to be, or you're going to have to reset it.
And she's slightly wiggling it back and forth so you can set the ring into the toilet and onto the floor.
And then this set came with everything I need for down here. So I sort of hand tighten that one so I can go back and forth. This side. And as I'm working them, I get to a certain point and I do a wiggle test. And then I keep tightening it. And if I have it snug and it's still wiggling, I'll put something back here to have little spacers so that it won't wiggle. And this has stopped wiggling, so we're good. Caps on. Okay, so next we opened up the toilet tank box, and you have to put this in there. And it comes with its own little cool tool with the American Standard. So a lot of them don't do that. So just prepare to bring your own tools just in case. So I put the plastic washer first. That plastic washer. And the handy dandy tool, I put the nut in. I just started a little bit on one side. And then do all the same stuff on.
See, by only tightening them down just a little tiny bit and just starting it, it gives the little leeway for her to tip the tank to fit the nut on the other side as well. If you tighten it down too much on one side, you're not going to be able to get the other side on quite as well.
And you want to make sure that you're doing them a little at a time on both sides, because if it's leaning more on one side than the other, you're going to crack your bowl and tank. And you don't want shards from that. It's wiggling a bunch. But you don't want to go too fast, especially if you've only done this once or not even at all before. Because if you go too fast, you could also break it. You want to get a feel for. I just wiggle it a little bit and get a feel for how tight it is, so I don't want to break the toilet, but I also don't want it flopping. So the gasket's sitting, the toilet's sitting where it should be, and it's snug and it's not wiggling, and that's where I want it.
So next we are going to be doing the supply line, and the supply line is going to connect from right here off the tank of the toilet all the way down to the water.
So with this, you want to be very careful. This is usually hand tight if you've got a good grip. You don't want to use a tool on this because you could split it and crack it, and then you could flood your house. This one, I usually use a crescent wrench on this one, so just so you don't scratch the metal. Thread it on, so now I'm just doing it as hand tight as I can until it's really snug, and there we go. So I'm going to go ahead and just sort of twist that gently.
Keep in mind you do not want to kink this braided hose, because if you do that, it's not going to be able to flow water efficiently through the hose.
So I got that hand tight on there. So this one you can use your crescent. I'm going to adjust it where I need to. And I usually hold on right here when I'm tightening it so it doesn't spin the nut. Should. And I like getting braided stainless steel supply lines. I don't like getting any other ones usually. These are called no bursts. Usually have less flooding with those, less issues. And they seem to last a lot longer than the rubber ones. I usually start letting it fill up. I still have the seat to do and caulking, but it gives me a chance to test it and make sure there's no leaks, because I'm down here and using the water for caulking and flushing it constantly, so I'm able to catch if there's any leaks.
And when filling it, make sure that this little clip is place inside this tube so the water can go into the tube and not just into the toilet.
You see how the water level is? It was set by the manufacturer. Sometimes it's not set where you want it. It's too close to the top. So I usually flush it a little. And then this sets the water pressure. So I put it where I want it. I'm going to bring it a little bit further down. And you don't need to flush your toilet all the way. You just want to see where it stops or to test it. And I feel more comfortable with it about there, maybe a little bit less. So that way you ensure that it stops where it needs to and you don't have constant, I call it ghost flushing. A few more steps left, so we're doing the seats now. This one is pretty fun because you can actually remove it to clean. So basically you start with this, and I usually start by hand. And there's these pieces that once you get it down far enough, it just makes it pretty, snug once you get the nut tightened. You don't have it moving around so much.
And we are tightening this black nut onto those bolts.
And you can take like a flathead or a Phillips. I like to take a flathead, it's pretty big. You see, I'm just snugging it up. And it just needs to be really sort of tight. See, I've been flushing it while I'm working. So I can keep seeing, because my face is down here, so I can see if anything's running down the back. The gasket's okay or not. And if the wax ring's set. So then this, to unlock it, you just take that and you make them sideways. And then you push that down, and then you lock it in place. So that you can easily remove it to clean it later. So now all we have to do is caulk the toilet. I usually don't like doing that if it's a used toilet. So I chose white because there's like a little bit of an old stain showing, but it's not bad. So I take my caulking all the way around, and I use the water cleanup style. And some people like to leave a gap in the back, just so if it leaks, it doesn't go through the floor, you can actually catch it before it damages your floor.
So when wiping with the sponge is pushing that bead of caulking into the crease between the floor and the toilet, creating a nice seal around the toilet.
And it's basically, to keep bacteria and everything from going underneath the toilet. I guess it's more of a health thing. I got the majority of the caulking done, but the homeowner's aware that there's a little bit of damage that was done. It's pretty delicate because it's old, and I couldn't remove some of it because I would have torn the linoleum.
Last step of installing a toilet is we are going around the toilet and wiping off any dirty marks that the manufacturers accidentally put on.
Or just test markings.
Yeah.
Alright, that's it.
And there's our new toilet.